In today's digital world, cybersecurity is a top priority for businesses of all sizes. However, for e-commerce SMEs, the challenge of protecting sensitive data, staying ahead of growing threats, and maintaining customer trust can feel overwhelming. I'm joined by Shimmy Mochobo, Managing Director of M.E.G Security, to give a guide on how entrepreneurs can navigate such complexities. Shimmy, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Nantaveko, and then thank you for having us.
Can you just set the tone for us for a second? What are some of the trending cybersecurity threats that SMEs are not really looking out for that bigger organizations might have a budget for?
I think the biggest would be, it starts when you get to your workplace, where in essence your Wi-Fi connections, ordinarily you'll get to a point where everyone is connected to your Wi-Fi, and that is also posing a major risk, and people who are working for you are not that much aware in terms of how you protect your data. Would ordinarily give every particular person who comes into your building, the Wi-Fi access, in which they also are able to then use it to access other, important files, especially when you have your, say if you have your biggest servers around that are managing all of their departments.
Now, just from your experience as the Managing Director of M.E.G Security, what is your approach when a big company versus a small one approaches your services in terms of data protection?
I think the biggest is to, when you start, obviously, to have your policies that serves as a guideline, where you actually need to acquaint your staff members in terms of how they should have, the security awareness programs around, your cybersecurity issues. And then one particular, strategy will then be also having to take your IT department personnel to that much needed training to upskill themselves. On annual basis, there is a new thing that, your cyber related crimes get to, instill in terms of introducing the new trends that they easily get to, access the data that is much needed to be protected. So therefore, you're upskilling your IT personnel as well. It is much more important because ordinarily you then get to upskill them and keep them up to date with the much needed recovery strategies.
And that makes sense. Of course, you would need to upskill in order for you to stay ahead of the growing threats. Now, just looking at some factual information here, from April 1st, South Africa implemented a more mandatory e-portal reporting, which makes it easier for both public and private organizations to report instantly when there are these cyber incidences. Why is it important for SMEs to look at such platforms and look at companies such as yourself and not worry too much on budget and cost effectiveness?
I think the most important is to say, once you have that type of an e-portal, your information is at an instant disposal, and therefore you are able to trace and track where the information could have leaked to the persons who would be responsible for such data access. So in that, your recovery strategies are then much more simplex and then also effective, in a sense that you are able to swiftly respond onto any other threats that might be encountered.
Now, just looking for future prospectiveness, because obviously you need to be agile, you need to adapt. Looking at M.E.G Security, what are the steps in order for you to grow the company and grow in terms of the services that you offer your clientele and staying ahead of the curve?
Basically, our IT department is well acquainted, to handle any vulnerability that our clients will get to, because we deal mainly with your security-related issues. We have an IT department that is constantly, upskilling themselves, and also by now you'd be aware that there is an AI, that is also being introduced. Therefore, their services and products are more orientated in terms of also absorbing and accommodating the AI infrastructure, so that it makes it seamless for our clientele to also be able to get the information and also all of the things that they needed to do to protect their data.
What will it take, for instance, to mobilize the township markets or the township economy to also hop into protecting their data?
Well, with the much needed infrastructure for Wi-Fi, I think most of our township are not really set up for that. But however, the important part is to also seek advice in terms of your external partners or service providers, particularly the ones who are working on the Wi-Fi space, to say how do they best also can be able to assist in terms of ensuring that they provided particular service, and also teach our our township business orientated people to also utilize the platform in ensuring that they are able to protect and also ensure that they give their clientele the best of service.
There's a lot of opportunity here within the cybersecurity space. Thank you very much for joining us, Shimmy.
Thank you so much, Nontobeko.
That was Shimmy Mochobo, Managing Director of M.E.G Security, sharing his insights on how SMEs can tackle cybercrime.